Okay, number 21. Men and women have reproductive rights. The state shall recognize the rights of the couples and individuals to decide freely and responsibly the number, spacing, and timing of their children and have the information and means to do so, and the right to attain the highest standards of sexual and reproductive health. Okay. So, unlike China before, the Philippines is free. People are free to choose how many children they wanted to have. And more of the rights in terms of reproductive rights. You know. So we are not under tyranny here in terms of reproductive rights. And okay, let's just go over. I'm getting bored. Are you bored? By the way, this is the second part of the video. The video was being cut because there was some advertisements popping up, and so the video got cut. And so, spacing and sexual health. The state shall also recognize the rights of couples in making decisions regarding the reproduction, free of discrimination, coercion, and violence, as expressed in human rights and human rights documents. So, yeah, married couples are free to have that sexual act in order to obtain or to procreate humans or babies, children. Anybody who's trying to violate that rights is grounded for the contempt of the court, and they can go to jail. For example, a married couple where the parents of that married couple are making decisions that they shouldn't have children, for example. All right, and many more other examples. Attention. Okay, number 22, the indigenous and Moro peoples, Moro, are native Muslims in Mindanao in Palawan. That's what the definition says. And they have the right to equality, with all the other peoples and against all forms of discrimination. They have the right to existence as distinct people free from assimilation, as well as the right to resist development aggression. So, if they are Muslims and the government is trying to force them to assimilate or to absorb or to follow certain kinds of culture that is not of their own and traditions, they have the right not to follow so. As well as the right to resist development aggression, which threatens their survival as a community. Because what makes them a community, those indigenous, ethnic, and moral and religious people, tribal people, are there a distinct character as a tribe, as a group. So if you take that away, they will become like ordinary people, and they will not survive as a community. They will no longer have their community. So their rights must be protected as a tribe, as a group. Thus, the state shall assist and support them in the protection and preservation of their culture, language, tradition, and beliefs. So, for example, there are the Ifugals, and some group of educated people would go there, and the objective and motive is to eradicate their language and teach them English. And anybody who's caught talking by their own language or dialect, the Ifugals, are being castigated, being punished, or being isolated, or anything. some just weird examples, but it could be true. It could happen, and it might have happened already, out from our outside our knowledge. Okay, which threatens survival's attention. They have an inherent right to their ancestral domain, so that's coming from their ancestors, which must be given urgent, immediate attention and protection by the state, and should be respected and defended by all. Yeah. Number 23. The state shall accord special protection to persons with disabilities. So we're talking about people who have dysfunctionalities and disabilities. They have the right to enjoyment of equal opportunity as well as appropriate, accessible social services, education, employment, rehabilitation, and social security. So what happens is when people, normally when people see other people with disabilities, they tend to think that they are useless in the society, which is not true. Because while they cannot stand, they cannot see, they still have other senses functioning and their intelligence. And they have a great use in the society. Okay? So even those who have, for example, in Japan, as I've heard, those who have Down syndrome, for example, those what we call here mongoloid, they have some jobs particularly right for them in the city, like I don't know, like collecting tickets, payments, or some traffic enforcement or whatever. So the state shall accord. Okay, number 24. Older persons shall be given preferential treatment by the state. So those senior citizens should have um, discounts, 20% discount in Jollibee or um, whatever products they buy in the store. They have such privilege. Then some senior citizens, or some places here in the Philippines, if not all, are given incentives if you are a senior citizen, especially during birthdays and Christmas. And okay, they shall be given priority in terms of accessible social security and health. Okay, many of them have SSS, social security system, and that's good because that would help to their daily expenses. Excuse me. Economic rights. 25. We have the right to a nationalistic and independent economic policy protected from foreign domination and intrusion. So we're talking about nationalistic and independent economic policy. There. Yaman ta? Okay, ko Andre. Awon sa ganyan siya?
Minuto.
Minudo no? Ah, okay. Minudo baka ba na siya?
Dili.
Na kay utan ba? Kaning asa tong langka ano yan?
Langka na.
Kaning isda.
Bangus.
Oh. Kung ano ko magbagong buhay na ko. Takihon yata ni. Katarabang gawan, sumirwan sakit ang dughan kay numdum ta ba na tangtangon nun ta magpitik na yung dughan mo bro mo ambak imong pitik ba hindi na mao pila man ni
6'5", sir.
expect na dako ikaw
Ako rin balik.
Kanya lang? Ano kay kuwang nimo wala lang
Wala.
sige
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
thank you so we in the Philippines should have sovereignty or control over our economy, and no foreigners or any powers outside the Philippines shall take over and do something wrong with our law. For example, we have the priority to own lands. Ideally, foreigners should not be allowed to buy lands for their own, because if that would happen, a lot of rich countries from rich countries, foreigners will buy property, and what will happen to us? We become homeless. We become nomads. We become servants, slaves. So there should be a law, and there is a law for that. But what happens is that they work around that laws. Foreigners begin to tend to negotiate with women, Filipino women, for business. So they get married, and then most of them got divorced, and some of them get on with each other as married couples, if they like each other, just to own a property, own the beach, own that land, settle here and, buy some properties. I don't think that is right. And that's why we have this certain right. And a lot of times this right has been violated. I'm going to read it again, number 25. We have the right to a nationalistic and independent economic policy protected from foreign domination and intrusion. We have the right to a self-reliant economy based on national industrialization. Industrialization. Okay, pronouncing it right now. We have the right to resist all forms of oppressive and unreasonable trade liberalization, to oppose a subservient debt management strategy, and to repudiate all foreign debts that do not benefit the people. Okay, there's a lot here, so we can take them one by one. We have the right to resist all forms of oppressive and unreasonable trade liberalization. So when we say liberalization, it means free trade without the provision or not following the provisions of the law of the land. So that is very oppressive, like say for example smuggling, you know, to oppose a subservient debt management strategy. Philippines, just like many, if not all of the countries in the world, have debts. Debts means utang. And that makes us really like a slave to the one that we owe to. That one, I guess, is the reason why we can't do anything with what the WHO, what UN, and what the world government right now, obviously there exists a world government, is trying to do with us, with this pandemic. They want to lock us down. We are locked down. They want us to get vaccinated and booster shots. We do that. And that's quite frightening. We're losing our rights. We're losing our liberty. But I, for myself, I'm not vaccinated. I'm never gonna be vaccinated. Not unless they kill me first. It's a sad thing, although. But anyway, I have my reasons. You have your reasons as well. Okay, let's move on. And to repudiate means to correct forcefully. All foreign debts that do not benefit the people. So if there are foreign debts that are useless, okay, we should repudiate, we should scold, in other words, in layman's term, the government for creating such debt that are useless. The state shall develop efficient and effective debt management strategies that will benefit the people and